Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we are going to be giving you the final recap for all of the AB seeded kingdoms from the G2 KvK pool that is playing War of the Last Snows, basically coming to an end today. Now, we're going to be going over 7009 all the way to 7018, which again encompasses our AB seeds, and then the CD seeds are after that. But again, for today, we're just going to focus on the A's and B's. Okay. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you throw us up, because that's a lot. Thanks. Okay. As we have 7009, this matchup, and I'm going to give you some percentages too as well, because remember, we took some community votes that people submitted who they thought which team was going to win. And then I'll tell you what those numbers were, because we actually had a couple upsets based on that, which, again, whether or not you find that interesting, I'll still tell you. 7009. This matchup was the number one KvK matchup. This was S2AK, WBS, Rage, Sura versus WPT, TFS, WAO, and GDW. Now, the Rage team, and again, if you hear me say that, it's just me using whatever the strongest team was or kingdom is at that time when we did the data pool, which for this one was on the 6th of last month. So the Rage team in this case, the community voted 63% in favor that they were going to win versus TFS's team, which had 36% of the vote. Who ended up winning? Well, in this case, S2AK, WBS, Rage, and Sura did, as they do control the dragon at the moment. Okay. Now let's get to 7010. For this matchup, this was the second strongest KvK group. Again, for this one, we had Echo, SVR, MFD, -VW versus EX-BTX apostrophe, right? BNR and HOUW. Now, this was a little bit more drastic as far as where the community numbers were. 89% of the vote was in favor of the Echo team winning. 11% of the vote was in favor of the BTX team. Almost makes you think that maybe they knew something we didn't know at the time when doing the prediction. However, who ended up winning in the end? Yes, it ended up being Echo's team that ended up winning. As you can see them in the Dragon area. Okay. Let's go over to 7011. Now, this one, I guess it's curious because I know the way that some people feel about EIS, and it almost feels like it's just kind of like a running troll / joke at this point that people just constantly keep making with, especially at the end of every season. Everyone's like, oh yeah, ES is disbanding this season. It's just hilarious and out of pocket, it feels like at times, propaganda that's being thrown around there. Again, Dark feels like he's just kind of rolling with any of the Swifty punches that are what seems to be seasonally coming their way. However, this matchup we have is going to be FA, EIS, A2G, SHPZ. They're going up against 30NA, Ash, O5DK, and my homies over at Squiggly Eyes or Big O, Little O. Now, community predictions on this was 80% in favor of the EIS team winning, 20% in favor of the 30NA team winning. Who won for this one? It ended up being the EIS team. Came out with the W in the victory. As you see, EIS is there on the dragon. Let's go to 7012. Now, this one is actually our first community upset, that I'll say. So this matchup was GG, ROV, AC, MBH versus 25IW, Seal, Lion, and IWG. 63% of the vote went in favor of the ROV team. 36% of the vote went in favor of the 25IW team. However, the 25IW team, along with Seal, Lion, IWG, ended up coming out with a win here in this group. Again, they were about 2/3 in favor of the other team that people thought were going to win this one. And again, those were early community predictions in the beginning. Okay. Right? Proving them wrong. 70-13. Let's get to the next group. This one is going to be NF57. We got 14BS, SG97, and EVG. They were going up against 21SW, RP, RFF, and WOW or Wowzers. Now, 73% of the vote went in favor, pretty steep here, of NF57, 14BS, SG97, EVG. 27% of the vote in favor of the RFF team. However, the RFF team ended up coming out victorious here. I mean, that's pretty steep of an underdog, or you think that, hey, this is just not barely going to happen. And it did happen. So again, good job and shout out to them for taking the W this season. Let's get over to 70-14. In this matchup, we have NTS, BEK, MM, and 1UP. They are going up against ROD, UHA, NWE, HTF. Now, the NTS team had 66% of the vote. The NWE team had 34% of the vote. The NTS team ended up winning this one. So NTS back MM 1UP. Shout out to them. They ended up winning the season. Now let's get over to 70-15. We've got a couple left here. Next matchup here in 70-15 for SOS5, we have OMG, BOM, GPX, RAC. They're going up against DND, BXS, LPG, and KOV. Winners, based on percentage, shockingly played out a little similar here. 35% of the vote was in favor of the BXS team. 65% of the vote was in favor of the RAC team. The RAC team ended up winning. You could see Gex RAC is up here, OMG. They end up taking the W here in 70-15 for the season. Now let's get to 70-16. Got 3 left. For this matchup, we had hyphen FU. I probably should just drop the hyphen. Just be like FU. AVIC, WGL, NXW going up against DBB, Law, K211, and IFAP. Now, 76% of the vote went in favor of the WGL team. 24% of the vote went in favor of the Law team. Obviously, from what you can see on here, the FU, AVIC, WGL, and NXW team ended up winning out this season. Again, shout out and shots congratulated to them. 70-17 as we get to our last 2 groups here. This one, a little bit of a surprise, I think. But again, it's all subjective. First team is going to be POTU or POTC. We got BB, FG, and KOD. They were going up against ED2, RSYN, IR, and KIN. Now, the FG team had 64% of the vote, while the IR or ED2 team had 36% of the vote, right? So almost double. However, the IR, ED, RSYN, KIN team ended up coming out with the W here, right? So exceeding community expectations or beating them out, and they get to take a W here for the 70-17 season. Group. There we go, in the season. Now we get to 70-18, which is the last KvK group here. And this is going to be comprised of RK, Block, DK, and TC. That makes up one team. The other team we had is Laws, AXC, SOS, and 3-3 or Slanted Eyes. I'm not really sure exactly what else. Or was it Lazy Eyes or Sleepy Eyes? Now, the RK team had 58% of the vote leaning their way. And the Sleepy Eyes or 3-3 team had 42% of the vote. However, the Laws, AC, SOS, and 3-3 team ended up walking away with the W this season. As you can see, Sleepy Eyes is there on the Dragon. So again, beating out some of those early community predictions that were thrown out. And that sums us up for what we got here in the AB seeds for the WOTLS or War of the Last Snows KvK season. I want to point out that I'm pretty stoked that Rise of the Dragon most likely is coming back or seemingly is coming back next season. It has by far been, and again, it has its own opportunities, but in my opinion, I think by far, as of late, has been the best KvK season and map that we've got thus far. And so hopefully we'll see some more adjustments being made or more improvements here and there, especially to other maps. But I am happy to at least see that ROTD is coming back next season. With that being wrapped up, I would love to know for any of you players that were in the 7009 through 7018 KvK groups, what was your experience like this season? What was your best moment? What was your worst moment? Opportunities, areas of improvement on the season? What did you like the most about the season's features? What did you not like the most about the season? And hopefully you had a chance to at least get a decent bit of fighting in. Let me know your thoughts down below. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, we will catch you, I guess, later.